spread quickly. By the time Adama got back to her home, Iyanu was already talking at the market, her voice full of mean words. Adama, that quiet little mouse, cook for a whole village? She's trying to do too much. Her rice will burn. The laughter that followed was mean and nasty, but Chief Bello had seen something in Adama's eyes. It wasn't just a big dream. It was belief, a spark of the old, friendly spirit. He was so tired of the quiet. Maybe it was foolish, but it was a chance. "You have my permission," he declared later that day, his voice loud enough for all to hear. "Let it be, as she says. Let's see what happens." Adama's journey began on the worn-out paths leading out of the village. She wasn't just gathering ingredients. She was following the map from her dream. Her first stop was the weedy land behind the old shrine, a place most villagers stayed away from. Pushing aside thorny bushes, her heart beating with fear and respect, she found it. Just as she dreamed, a small, wild patch of Atarodo peppers grew in the shade. They were smaller and a deeper red than the market kind. And when she plucked one, a warm feeling spread through her fingers, like it held the sun's heat. Next, she walked 2 hours to a neighboring village, to a family that was very private and still made oil the old way. She asked for a special kind of oil her grandmother called Adiagbon, oil of the world. It was pressed only from the ripest nuts of the oldest palm trees and slow cooked until it smelled smoky and had a very deep red color. The family was hesitant. This oil was special, usually only used for gifts to the spirits. But something about Adama's quiet strength made the old woman in charge feel she could be trusted. She poured a lot into Adama's bowl, like she was sharing a big secret. For the rice, she didn't go to the market. Instead, she opened a large clay pot in her storeroom, one her grandmother had filled years ago with long grain rice from a special harvest when they had a lot of food. "This rice remembers the good year," her grandmother had told her. "It remembers the rain and sun and the songs of the women who gathered it. When you cook it, you wake up a happy memory." The day before the festival, Adama had 2 boys help her roll the village's giant pot from the chief's storeroom. It was a huge black pot that hadn't been used in a long time. As they scrubbed it clean with sand and water, it felt like they were polishing a forgotten treasure. All day, Adama worked. She sat on a low stool, grinding lots of tomatoes, tatashi, red bell peppers, and onions on her grandmother's stone. The smell was fresh and good. Then, she pounded the dream peppers, the fiery atarodo, into the paste. The mix turned bright red. It filled the air with a smell so strong, it made your eyes water and your heart beat faster. As the sun went down, she was alone with the giant pot, which now sat over a carefully built pile of wood for a fire. She poured in the deep red palm oil. As it heated, its smoky smell spread through the night. She added onions, and the sizzle was the only sound in the quiet square. Then, under the rising moon, she did the special ritual. It was a quiet, personal talk. Following her dream, she began to stir the sauce with her left hand, the hand closest to her heart. "One stir for the living," she whispered, "for those who have forgotten how to be together. 2 stirs for the dead," she continued, her voice stronger, "for our family from long ago who built this village and want us to have peace. And 1 more stir," she finished, looking up at the stars, "for the children who will be born so they can grow up in a happy village." Finally, she reached into a small pouch. It held salt. She closed her eyes, whispered a final prayer to her grandmother, and threw an uncounted pinch into the bubbling sauce, a sign of pure trust, of letting the spirits take over. In that moment, the jollof stopped being food. It became a prayer, cooking in a pot. Adama sat back, watching the flames, knowing she had poured all her love, memories, and hope into that pot. The morning of the new Yam festival was bright and clear, but the feeling in Ayatoro was still sad. People were pulled from their homes, not by happiness, but because they were curious. It wasn't the sight of the giant pot that pulled them in, but the smell. The smell in the morning air was amazing. It was more than the familiar scent of Yolof. It was a mix of wonderful smells, and each one brought back an old memory. There was the smoky sweetness of the Adiagbon palm oil, reminding the elders of their mother's cooking. The deep, roasted scent of the pepper base, the true smell of a party. And underneath it all, the spicy smell of the Ata Rodo peppers, a smell that felt alive. It was the smell of every wedding, every naming ceremony, every happy party they had ever known, all rolled into one. It was the smell of the village when it was happy and together. First came the children, their curiosity stronger than their parents' warnings. Then, their mothers, pretending to go somewhere else, but their steps slowed as they got closer to the fire. Finally, the men came, standing in silent groups with their arms crossed, pretending not to care, but their eyes were fixed on the single shape of Adama, stirring the giant pot. She moved with a calm focus, pouring the washed rice, the rice that held the memory of good times, into the bubbling stew. The clunk, scrape, stir of a giant spoon against the iron pot was a steady, pulsing beat. For a long time, the villagers just watched. Then, the first small miracle happened. An old man, a respected elder, who stopped joining in with the village because he was so sad about it, saw Adama struggle to add a heavy log to the fire. Without a word, he walked forward, took the log, and placed it perfectly in the flames. He didn't go back to the crowd. He stood near the fire like a quiet guard. What he did broke the spell. A woman, seeing the water bowls were low, nudged her son, who ran to the well and returned with fresh water. Another family brought a small basket of dried fish, a simple gift that Adama added with a thankful nod. Then, the moment that made everyone hold their breath. Mr. Adebayo, head of his fighting family, found himself standing feet from Mr. Okoro. The air between them was full of years of anger. Just then, a cloud of smoke blew into Mr. Okoro's face, making him cough. Before anyone could think, Mrs. Adebayo, standing behind her husband, stepped forward and gave Mr. Okoro a cup of water. He took it, surprised, and drank. Their eyes met for a quick second. It was a simple, quick kindness, but in their broken village, it was like a clap of thunder.